Is buying a used camera off eBay a terrible idea versus financing one? No, I don't think so. As long as you know how your camera is supposed to work, make sure that if you are buying it off eBay, which there's nothing wrong with, I think eBay has been really good about protecting buyers from that kind of stuff. At the same time, on the other hand, they're good at protecting sellers as well. But for the buyer in particular, if you're trying to buy a camera, that's not a very cheap thing to buy. And if you're gonna do it off of eBay, you want to know that you're protected. So make sure that first and foremost, they have good ratings. Make sure that everyone that they have sold to is saying good things about them, and that's how you can protect yourself. Obviously the price point, that's up to you, and just make sure that you can get your money back in case anything goes wrong. What do you consider to be the essential pieces of your kit? I have a list of things that I want to buy, but trying to prioritize. The most essential thing for me is obviously the camera. If I lose everything else, let's say while I'm traveling, I can still get work done. I've only had one issue with traveling that I haven't had, that my luggage just came late. It wasn't lost, it was delayed since I missed my connecting flight due to the first flight being delayed. If you're trying to prioritize equipment, I would recommend that you go with the things that you don't have and that you actually need. I would recommend just invest in areas where you can up a little more value to your production. For example, if you already have your camera but are lacking in proper audio equipment, I would recommend you go that route, because good audio is really what makes or breaks your films, right? You could have the best camera in the world, but if you're recording that thing with the internal mic of that camera, it's not gonna be very nice. Your client is not gonna like that product. It's just gonna sound kind of crappy, and it might have $1 million visual, but without audio, you're pretty much done for. Same thing goes for lighting. Lighting is extremely important, especially when done right. There's so many different lighting tools that you can go and pick from. Lighting is something that I think I'll always continue to invest in. I have my very basic lights. I'm looking for something more unique and mobile so that I can continue to travel with and not be a hassle. I'm always looking to make my work more convenient without having any loss in quality. What is your favorite camera? I think I would have to say the Sony a7S Mark II. Reason for that is because it's just such a great image, and I can just take that camera anywhere. Even on when I travel, I could just keep it with me and do some vlogging videos, and it's just the image is good enough to make some high-end productions. I've actually been able to mix and match the video from a7S Mark II and the Red Epic Dragon 6K, and it just gives me a phenomenal image. And the reason why I say the a7S Mark II and not the a6300 is because the a7S Mark II actually has a headphone jack, and that's very important to me. As I mentioned before, audio is extremely important. So to answer your question, the Sony a7S Mark II, that is my favorite camera to have and to just take with me. It's extremely versatile. You can do just so much with that camera. What's your go-to lens for shooting an interview? My go-to lens for shooting an interview right now is the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. I love it for the depth of field. I usually have it at 35 millimeters focal distance. However, I am looking to invest in something a little more hardy in the sense of sharpness and depth of field. For example, I'm considering maybe a 50 millimeter prime from Canon or Sigma. I've been looking at Sigma art lenses a lot. I like what they're coming out with and their price range. The Sigma 50 millimeter prime seems like a really nice lens, talking about the art series, and it seems to be much sharper than that of the Canon from what I've seen on YouTube videos. I haven't tested them out myself, so obviously I'll have to make that comparison when I am able to get my hands on the lenses. Is the Sony a6300 a good camera to start out with? Absolutely. The a6300 is a great camera to start out with. And this has been since the camera came out, my only setback with the a6300 is that I cannot monitor my audio. Other than that, it's a phenomenal camera. The image quality is absurd. I cannot believe the image that comes out of this camera. Just to remind you, this camera, the a6300, has a 6K sensor. So when you're shooting 4K, it's really shooting 6K and delivering you a 4K image. So it's much sharper. It's much sharper than the A7S Mark II, the A7R. It's much sharper than the FS5, the FS7. It's even, I would even say it's much sharper than the Red Dragon. You'd see the images side by side, and I've compared the Red Dragon and I've compared the Sony A7S Mark II, and it's really hard to tell the difference in sharpness. And I know for a fact that the A6300 is much sharper, significantly sharper than the A7S Mark II. So that is why I'm saying that this camera, the A6300, is much sharper than the Red Dragon. Yes, the A6300 is a phenomenal camera, and what I would even recommend if you have the budget is to take it a step further and get the A6500 if you're into the internal image stabilization, which I would recommend if you're ever going handheld for running gun shooting. It will really make a huge difference. And touchscreen, not so much for me, but if you like that, obviously that's another feature that you might want to consider with the A6500. But yes, the A6300 is a phenomenal camera to start with. Again, this is how I shoot. This is not how everyone else shoots. It might not be, you might disagree with some of the things that I've said. That's fine. It's up to opinion. Everything I've said is relative, okay? So that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.